Alright, today I've got a tutorial process of how I do the backgrounds. I've got the video sped up a little bit, 3 times, just because I don't want to push that 15-minute limit that YouTube has. So the first things first is I kind of just color in some contrasting color after I do my sketch. And then here I'm just doing the divides between the bricks. Of course, I've used my perspective tools, or I've figured out the perspective to do this beforehand while I was still doing my sketch. So in most programs, the way to do straight lines is, at least in Medibang, Krita, Psy, is to press Shift and draw from one point to another, and you can do really nice straight lines. So they have that, you know what brick looks like, I'm not going to go through that process. The reason I do bricks in kind of this gray color is so that I have a nice contrast when I go in to put the shadows, or I don't know what it's called, the lighting effects. The way you do brick or tile or any kind of floors is you copy the first layer of the line separations, and you have that in your darker tone, and then the second layer is going to be in a lighter tone. Now then you kind of drag the second layer up so it has a little shadow on the bottom and the left side, or if you've got the light coming from a different direction, it'll be different direction, but it's so that you have a little bit of lighting effects to show that there's a little bit of depth to the stone that peeks out past the mortar lines. Mortar, that's what it's called. And so that's why I do it. Now, because I didn't draw bigger than the actual screen, I have to adjust it, and you'll see I go in here and I just kind of color in a little teeny bit on the edges so that I can, so that it doesn't look like it has weird gaps in places. So in some places I'm just gonna go over and recolor some areas so that it looks a little more consistent. That's what I'm doing here. Alright. And I'm making the lines the mortar a little bit thicker up front as well, so that you can kind of see the shadows a little easier. Or so that you can kind of see that there's a little bit of perspective going on. You're not going to see it as obviously with larger objects. The bits of mortar are a little easier, a little smaller, I mean. Okay, I'm doing the wall color, so I'm just doing a general blurry wall color. It doesn't matter much for right now, I just kind of want to see what it looks like. I'm going to go over this with some other texturing tools later. It doesn't matter for this first batch. Now I'm doing the mortar in other colors so that it also kind of goes with the wall, so that it doesn't like contrast too badly because of the lighter or dark color purple of the wall. So I'm going through and I'm kind of blending it out, testing colors, blending it out. There's going to be probably a lot of the testing colors and blending it out just to see what your light is doing. Here I'm coming through with my acrylic brush, which is technically just a regular soft brush. I have a specific texture on it, but you don't need to do that if you don't want to. So just a watercolor brush in like Medibang will work too. And I'm just coming in and I'm putting on, with a multiply layer, just a bunch of kind of scribbly lines to show that there's a little texture. It's not perfect. Again, it's not going to look realistic, like it's not going to look like a photograph, but it suits our purposes really well. It suits my purposes. And I'm kind of blurring things out, adding a little more texture, blurring things out. Here I'm gonna start putting in the leaves. So I'm just picking a standard green color, and I'm gonna do, I think most of them, the base color in the pen tool. Now, first things first, I'm turning the opacity down. Now, this is just a straight pen tool, and I'm using my pressure sensitivity on my tablet to just make different shapes. Now, just kind of make them rounded, and remember perspective. Some of them are going to be jutting out towards you, so they're going to look like just kind of, you know, half moon shapes or something like that rather than true leaves. And I'm doing the one opacity is at about 80%, and then I'm also doing some leaves at full opacity, at 100% opacity. And that's just to kind of give this this natural-ish look, because I don't know why I'm doing that, it just looks good. But leaves have different thickness. No two leaves are going to be exactly the same, so I'm just kind of doing whatever. This was actually easier than using one of my leaf brushes, because it's kind of, the leaves are a little more close up here, so you want to, you know, don't spend too much time making every single leaf look perfect. Just kind of do a general shape of them. So here I'm just doing the final details on what I want the general shape of the massive vines to look like. Okay, so I turned the color different so that I could actually see what I was doing, because it was getting too similar in the contrast of things. Okay. Alright, and then I lock the layer. I go in with a darker color. I just kind of, you know, brush that in a darker color. And then I come in again with my acrylic brush, which is actually just my brush. It's just a soft circle brush that I come in. It's kind of a blendy, soft circle brush that I'm coming in with. I have it on Sai. I have it set to the hardest edges, but it's still one of those blendy brushes. In Medibang, it's going to be your watercolor brush. In Krita, well, it could be any litany of brushes. Just kind of play with the Krita brushes. Krita's got several of the watercolor brushes that look nice. It's got some of the pencil brushes look really nice too. So I had the dark layer on first, and now I'm just kind of putting different highlights of leaves, so lighter and lighter colors of leaves. And as you progress up through dark to light, you're going to put gradually less of those. I think I've mentioned it before, but Bob Ross always said that you don't want to kill the dark, because your dark showcases your light, or you have to have dark to show the light. So make sure there are areas of your dark colors, your darker leaves, that are more shaded in there poking through. Okay, so as soon as I figure out what I'm doing here, I'm doing the pillar now. So because the pillar is, the rounded edge is going to be facing the wall, so I'm going to have it more shadowed on the left-hand side than I am the right-hand side. And it's kind of, because it's almost the Roman style of pillars, which means that it's not actually cylindrical, it's kind of 10-sided or something. I don't remember if they're 10-sided or like 16-sided. But I have the divider line, and I'm just doing different shades of dark to shade that in. And it's mostly hidden by vines, so I'm not too worried about it. It's just an extra little touch. Okay, so right here I'm just doing some additional shadows on the leaves, on the vines. So I'm just I turned it up to a multiply layer, and I'm doing different shadows. Now I'm putting this multiply layer underneath the layer of the leaves because that's the layer, that's the shadows that the leaves are casting. In a little bit I'm gonna come with a layer on top of the leaves, and that's gonna be additional shading to the leaves themselves. So here I have this layer, I have it clipped, so it's in the clipping group. I have it clipped to the leaf layer, so it's just the leaves that are being shaded. Okay, so okay, so here is me messing with the wall color again. Again, I'm just kind of tweaking it until it looks right. I'm not sure what that's gonna look like for everyone, but I kind of want a kind of more natural color. Okay, here I'm just coming in with my eraser brush, and I'm just erasing some of the layers, or some of the leaves on that multiply layer where I had the shadows, just to make some of the leaves pop a little more. I'm going to come in and I'm going to tweak it a little bit more and see what it looks like. Yeah, so I'm just in the final stage right now. So this was really quick. It took me about 45 minutes to do. So I'm just coming in and I'm just tweaking things. So I'm having the mortar be a little bit lighter on the bottom and a little darker on the top, because that's how the wall is. That's where the shadows are going, because shadows are weird. And after this point, I just kind of was messing with the layers and with Toriel shadows. Don't worry about what I did there. I'm actually going to cut that off in the video. So I'm just messing with the opacity of the different multiply layers, or the different screened layers, just to tweak my colors and tweak my shadows a bit. And here I'm adding a little more texture to my walls. I have them on an overlay layer with a purple color, and I'm just going in with different lights and darks just to add a little final touch of texture to the wall. Oh, and trying to find the right layer that little dark spot was on. There we go. And I'm just, again, tweaking things, seeing what looks best. There's probably going to be a lot of tweaking, because it's small little tweaks that take 10 seconds each. Okay, and this is the point I start messing with Toriel, so I'm going to cut it off here. Okay, something I forgot to paint in the initial speed paint was the cracks in the wall. So they're just lines. So most of the backgrounds are going to look, kind of similar to this. They're really quick and easy to do, unless you're gonna have a far shot where you're looking at like the layout of a cityscape. Most of them are gonna be kind of simple and easy to do. So long as you kind of get your perspective straight and you know what shadows are, they're gonna look pretty good. Alright, ta-ta. Good luck with your backgrounds.